Does Paedon actually marry Kit? Who survives in Fearless? Will Paedon and Kai ever be happy together? I'm here to answer all these questions and more because I read Fearless by Lauren Roberts, so you don't have to. I took copious notes while I went back and forth between reading the audiobook and the ebook, and I'm prepared to save you the 18 hours and almost 600 pages of this story. Scroll away if you do not want spoilers. That is the entire purpose of this video. For the people with really low attention spans, let me just break it down for you real quick before I go into like the actual details of beat by beat story plot. Yes, Paedon does marry Kit, but it doesn't last for multiple reasons. One being that they are half siblings, and the other being that he dies. And yes, she ends up with Kai, and they have a daughter named Kit. Everybody who wants like the beat by beat of the story, keep watching. So this one picked up literally right where Reckless left off. Paedon is bloody. She is right before the king and is being told that she has to marry him. The reason that Kit suggests this is because Callum, like the mind reader who is from the Resistance, he has convinced him that he either has to kill Paedon or marry her. And so Kit decides he's going to marry her. He gives all these speeches to the people. Honestly, very MAGA-like. He keeps talking about making Ilya great. It was just like really weird. Like, why did you like have to keep using that verb? So Paedon gets this ring publicly in front of all the elites, and afterwards has a private conversation with Kit, Kai, and Callum, and she agrees to do it for the Ordinaries and for Ilya. She wants them to be united again. We start getting Edric, who is Kit and Kai's father, who died, who Paedon killed. We start getting his like flashbacks. So this one is Iris, and she is pregnant. He's coming in to see her. She's homebound, and she's got her jewelry box open in front of her. There is a rose in front of it, and he kind of notices this and makes a face, and she quickly says, oh, it's from one of my handmaids, and shuts the box. Back to present day. The elite people are not happy that this Ordinary who killed their previous king is going to be the new queen. So they demand that she be put in more trials. It's so clear that Lauren Roberts is trying to make Paedon like a Katniss character. And now we're like, is this catching fire? I was just like, why are we doing this? She's competing, but alone. And Kit agrees to this. It's just like, what? The 3 trials that she's going to go through are going to be structured by the 3 B's that King Edric used to live by: bravery, benevolence, and brutality. Those are supposedly marks of a great ruler, so that Paedon can prove herself worthy of the throne and prove her loyalty. Honestly, I was like, this is just to stretch out the book. 18 hours, almost 600 pages. Please be so for real. Like, unnecessary plot filler, in my opinion. Lots of scenes of Kai and Paedon sneaking around to make out. He always like removes her engagement ring or puts it on another finger. So Paedon's first trial is to retrieve Queen Marina's crown from this crypt, past the Scorches, the Sanctuary of Shadows. Like, so many people have tried and never been able to get it before. Kai continues to say stuff. Literally every like line of inner dialogue, and even when Kai and Kit are bantering, it just honestly sounds like someone put like poetic bantering into AI. It is so heavy-handed. Like, we do not need everything to feel so quotable, to the point that nothing is quotable, and that's kind of what this book is like. So if I never heard the word darling again, I would be perfectly happy. Another Edric flashback. This time Iris is in childbirth, and she gives birth to a baby but dies in the process. But this baby is powerless. Interesting word. Said that she looks like her mother, tan skin and freckles and bright eyes. This be Paedon. In conversation before the trials, Ellie, who is now Paedon's maidservant, lets it slip that Adina had a boy she would go visit during the trials. I don't know if this was in Powerful. I did not read the novella, I'm sorry, but Adina had a man. Lots of little scenes of Paedon spinning the ring from her adopted father, Adam Grey, on her thumb, just like very repetitive. There are bandits that try to kill Paedon, but surprise, surprise, she passes the trial and retrieves the crown. So for the second trial, she has to travel across water through the shallows to the kingdom of Isram. She's going to be delivering some roses as a peace offering and trying to reintroduce Ilya as an ally. Talking about kind of like genetically mutated animals in the shallow, even though we never see them. But basically Kai convinces Kit that he should go with her as a protector. Again, these are her trials. I don't understand why. Blair, aka the elite who killed Adina, keeps popping up randomly just to kind of drive the plot along and cause tension. A lot of the side characters in this book, if not all of them, feel like plot fodder, honestly. So the scene in the boat is giving like Shadow and Bone. They have like people pushing the water and directing the wind. Is there truly any series that Lauren Robert has not borrowed from? So another Edric flashback. Again, Iris has just given birth. The baby's Ordinary. And we find out that Iris was a powerful soul type elite, which means she was able to sense and manipulate another's emotion. He's really unhappy that this baby born of 2 powerful parents is Ordinary, so he orders it disposed of. And then he changes the public story and all the records to say that Iris died 2 years prior when she was in childbirth with Kit. And they bring in a new wife who already has a child. This is Kai, and pretends it's his own. But we find out that Kit and Kai are literally not related at all. Back to the present, there is an attempt made on Paedon's life on the ship, and Kai saves her. Oh my gosh, okay, this quote I had to say because it's probably one of the worst things I've ever read. Paedon says, "You said A earlier. Is that what you used to call Ava?" I nod slowly. Yes, it was. That's what I called Adina. She blinks rapidly as if to ward off tears before they form. I guess I'm just not used to hearing the nickname for anyone else. Really, you've never heard anyone give the nickname A to someone with an A name? Like, be so for real. When she gets back home, there's another confrontation between Blair and Paedon, even though like Lenny, whoever that is supposed to be like guarding her and keeping her away, and Paedon is supposed to be good. Using fire, basically Paedon kills Blair. And I would just like to note that this is more on-page violence than we've seen from Kai, who's supposed to be the enforcer. It's like she never shows us that Kai is dangerous, she just tells us. The third trial is going to be a surprise for Paedon, so she's not prepared at all. She's thrown back into the bowl, and we find out that it's going to be a fight for the death, and it's an ordinary versus every elite, aka someone with Kai's power who can have any powers, essentially. They're fighting back and forth. Kai hurts Paedon a couple times, but obviously he's stronger, and then Kai basically makes her stab him, and as he's dying in the bowl arena, she finally tells him that she loves him. We have what feels like 5 minutes of Paedon being locked in her room, feeling sad, feeling sorry. We find out, oh my god, Kai is actually alive. He was drugged before a trial, and then they brought in a wielder, and someone else cast Kai's image on him. He ends up being the one to say, I love you first, since this is the real Kai. Conveniently, the wielder that they found that needed to be taken care of, quote unquote, was Adina's boyfriend, Mac. So we like met him, and then lost him, like within a couple chapters again, just to further the plot. There's a scene with Callum and Paedon when he tells her that she looks like her mother. He wants to walk her down the aisle. He's gonna be like this father figure even more. And when she tells him about her father's journals, he's acting surprised. Honestly, he has been sus this entire book up until now. And she says, you think I look like my father's wife, Alice? And he says, from the few pictures I've seen of her, yes. Okay, also sus. Put a pin in that. Kit and Paedon decide to do the night before her wedding to Kit. Remember, this is YA, folks. It is not spicy. It is very glossed over. It brings his mother's jewelry box to Paedon right before the wedding. They had the first ceremony, which is in the palace, and they're also supposed to have one in Lute. It goes off without a hitch. Kai is not there. He doesn't want to witness it. Paedon goes back to get ready for the Lute ceremony because she wants to be a little less dressed up, and finally starts going through the jewelry box. He finds an old rose, and attached to it is a piece of parchment. It says, "Meet me at midnight." So yes, Iris had taken a lover who was not King Edric. Then she goes and she finds more notes, more love notes, and a picture, and it's like, oh my god, this looks exactly like me. Blue eyes, tan skin, freckled nose, yes, just like Paedon. So Iris is actually her mother. We still don't know who her father is yet though, because it sounds like it's not Edric, because Iris had a lover. And this is the last 20%. This is again when all the action is happening, by the way. So Callum walks in on her looking at the picture, his face pales. He's bringing her a bouquet of pink roses, and they have this conversation where he basically admits to everything. He's the king's mind reader, as we know, but he's been feeding him information about the resistance the entire time. Paedon says that there were no pictures of Adam Grey, her father's wife, Alice, so she knew something was off there. We find out that Callum was actually Iris's lover, so he is Paedon's father. She's still an ordinary, born of two powerful elites. We find out that Callum hates her for taking Iris from him in birth, just like King Edric did. He's a shithead. He told the king about Adam, her adopted dad, basically made Paedon a puppet as he became the resistance leader, just so they could make sure that all the ordinaries in the resistance were killed. And we find out that he's not just a mind reader, he's a dual, he can be a controller as well. So he was kind of like puppet master behind them. There's this line, the smell of roses grows bitter, life and death, past and present, all mingling in the air. So yeah, like God, Lauren Roberts wants to have written the Hunger Games so badly. She's like, let's make roses evil like snow. We see another Edric flashback. This is a conversation between him and Callum, and it basically sounds like that scene in Catching Fire between Plutarch and Snow, and they're like, yes, you should kill her, Paedon, but when the time is right, like that whole scene, except neither of them are good. So you may or may not be glad to know that Lauren Roberts also brought back the beasts don't get the beauty line from book 1. So Paedon goes to Kit to tell him all this information he found out, and he's the one to say, we are half siblings. Oh my gosh. Again, how convenient. Oh, she can't marry your half brother. That's wrong. Like 2 chapters later, Kit kills Callum. It was very weird and out of character for Kit. And we have a couple chapters where she tries to make us think that Kit and Paedon are going to stay married together in name only for the good of Ilya. Basically just so that Kai can be emo about this. Getting into the heavy plot here. Pei and Kai confront Kit about Callum being his first kill and it seeming so easy. We find out that he knew about the contents of the jewelry box before he even gave it to Paedon. He's acting like his dad, mad that she destroyed the family and came between him and Kai. Edric sought out power. Kit aches for companionship, brotherhood, me alone. That was obviously in Kai's point of view. So all of a sudden, we're like, oh wait, Kit's bad. Okay, all right, cool. Flashback chapter of Edric, we find out that he purposely put Adina in the games as revenge on Paedon for, again, killing Iris, taking the only comfort she knew in life. So awful man. And then, back to the present, for some reason, Kit is now like a mustache-twirling villain and gives them this whole speech. We find out that the plague wasn't random, it was actually manufactured by humans and made for Ilya. It was meant to save the armies, but ended up turning into a sickness as well. It wasn't right, it wasn't ready. There were never meant to be ordinaries left on the other side of it. And my father spent his life trying to right that wrong. So it was only supposed to make elites. That's why they hate ordinaries so much. This was a secret that Adam Gray was smart enough to find out, so that's why they always had like a vendetta against him. Kit's plan is for every kingdom to become elites and to get rid of all of the ordinaries. We find out that Callum was not controlling Kit with his controller abilities. It was part of the plan somehow. Once Kit found the letters, he realized that it was Callum's handwriting and he was a loose end, so he had to get rid of him, just like he now has to get rid of Pei. That I needed her as a queen to draw out the kingdoms, open the borders, but her usefulness is short-lived. So the roses that she brought to the first kingdom were actually full of the plague. And as he's saying all this stuff in his evil speech, blood is trickling from his mouth, again, like snow. You can't make this stuff up. Then Kai and Kit kind of spar, but it's supposed to be kind of playful, but it's not. And then Kai stabs him with a fire poker, and he's like, "You're supposed to dodge, Kit." But he didn't. So as he is now dying, so fast, as he's dying, Kit admits, oh, he hasn't felt like himself in a while. How convenient. The sickness overtaking him must be changing him. "I don't want to be a monster, I just wanted to be great," said Kit. He gives Kai his wedding ring and then says, "Oh, I've also written all these letters so that we can conveniently understand why Kit turned into a monster." And we get a chapter of Kit's letters, lots of like stricken sentences a la Juliet in the Shatter Me series. He decided to take a dose of the plague even though he was already an elite, maybe to become stronger. Doesn't make sense. We also find out that Edric gave this dose of the plague to baby Ava when she was little because he just couldn't risk, you know, her being ordinary even though it seemed like she wasn't. This is actually what killed her, so he is responsible for killing Ava. So there's that. The castle's kind of mourning the loss of Kit, but it's like hush hush on what happened. Peyton finds a note on the gate from the Queen of Isram, who she brought the flowers to, and it was like, I don't think it was your fault, Peyton, but I just already knew that these were poisoned, so I didn't even let them in. Don't worry. You guys didn't get us with those poison flowers. Like, oh, okay, great. Then Kai and Peyton bury Kit under the same willow tree as Ava, and they're like talking about the letters and how, oh, Kit wasn't really bad. It was this like sickness that changed him at the end. La-di-da. When Kai is now crowned king as the assumed heir, he continues Kit's legacy. He promised him he'd make him look like the greatest ruler ever. So he doesn't tell him about all the bad stuff, but just that, you know, he's gonna unite Ilya, take care of the ordinaries, open their gates. And then he proposes to Peyton. They have a small intimate wedding and it's in the rain. He finally makes her a flower crown. She gives him a forget-me-not. And the next chapter is 5 years later. They're off working on trade agreements. You hear a voice. They have a daughter who is 3. Her name is Kit with 1 T. And randomly we find out that Blair isn't actually dead. She's just like partially burned. So I've heard that there's gonna be a novella. I'm guessing it's gonna be about Blair, maybe Lenny too. And then the epilogue is just Kit in the afterlife. Someone named Mara is the face of death. I don't know who this is. I downloaded every other ebook in the series and keyword searched Mara. I don't know why we needed to name death, but Mara is death. Kit sees 2 beams of light in the afterlife. Give him some company. They say they will stay with him until his brother joins him. I'm sure this is supposed to be poetic. It was weird to make that the epilogue and not the 5 years later thing. Also, there were these men in the prologue. I still don't know who they are. Maybe it was like Adam and Callum. I don't know. Also in the audiobook, Lauren herself read the prologue, which was weird. Yeah, so that's it. 18 hours of my life that I can't get back. Even though I feel like it was like unnecessary plot fodder with the trials, this book actually still had more going on than book 2, Reckless, which was like nothing. So yeah, now it's done except for the novella, but this like series is wrapped. So I'm tired, y'all.